welcome to my channel, or welcome back if you've visited before. I'm Fionuala. I'm here in Zone 9B, gorgeous Northern California, a little bit north of Petaluma. And I'm at Cottage Gardens of Petaluma, and one of our specialties is Clematis. Now, people say Clematis a whole bunch of different ways depending on where you are in the world or how you've been raised, or if you just don't know how to say it, you'll say all kinds of things. I've heard Clematis, 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 all sorts of things. It's absolutely insane. We stick with Clematis. This is what I'm going to talk about today because it's January, it's the end of January, and your Clematis are going to start coming out of dormancy pretty soon. So there are things you should do to keep your Clematis happy, and you need to do them now. So follow along as we wander through the Clematis area here at Cottage Gardens of Petaluma, because it is amazing, and we've done the things you need to do to these Clematis already so that you can take them home. And I'm also going to be taking care of one of the in-ground clematises that we've got here so that you know what to do with your own plant that you've got growing in your own garden. So let's dive right in. There's a lot of different kinds of clematis. There's clematis that don't get very big. There's clematis that get enormous, such as these Montanas. They will climb a tree and bloom way, way, way up there, beautifully fragrant. There's some that work fabulous in small containers. Oh, here's another one I need to prune back. There's some that work fabulously in big containers. This is one of my favorite, the Boulevard Samaritan Joe. I'll be pruning that back in just a minute. There's some that don't even twine. And one of the cool things about clematis is they don't twine in a regular way. And by mean regular, I mean like a bean or a jasmine or something. The way a clematis climbs, they use their little leaf petioles to grab onto another leaf petiole or a trellis or something 1/4 inch or less. Very, very cool. So it's been one of my obsessions for many, many years. So I've got a lot of different varieties growing here that you can take home, growing here in the landscape. And it's a cool time to buy one. And it's a cool time to just see which ones are evergreen too. Forgot to mention that. There are evergreen ones. Come and look. Here's one. This is Clematis armandii, the classic evergreen. And then over there, I've got another one called Cartmanii Joe, which I think is very cool. Right here. It's super cool. Doesn't look like a clematis the way the leaves are. It's a good variety too. But mostly what I want to talk about today is what you need to do for your clematis in your garden. So let's jump on over to my avant-garde planted over here, and I'll show you how to prune that one. And then we'll take a little trip back to Boulevard Samaritan Joe, and I'll prune that one too. Okay, clematis. If you have never pruned your clematis before, January is a really, really good time to do it. It's put out a bunch of growth. It's probably looking a bit twiggy and brown and awful. And you want to get ahead of seeing any fresh new buds beginning to sprout. So it's not the end of the world if you accidentally wait a few too many weeks and suddenly there are sprouts out there, but it's a really much better thing to get ahead of it and prune it back right now. So this is a January pruning we're going to do, and this particular one is called avant-garde. So what you do is you prune it back to a pair of buds about 18 inches or 2 feet from the ground, and you just have at it and remove everything that's above that. This particular clematis is a very, very pretty one. The flower is pretty unusual. It's a gorgeous kind of double rosy magenta with this center that is short and frilly and just very, very cool. So it's one of the ones we grow over here at Cottage Gardens in the demonstration section. One thing that's nice about these trellises that we use here at Cottage, the squares are all 4 inches. So you can use the trellis to measure how far back to take your clematis. So I've got it at 1 foot, 1'4", 1'8", which is like right there in the middle. And I've taken everything back to a pair of buds right around there. This one I'm leaving a little bit taller. Yeah, I'm using this moment to clean the trellis up too, so that when the vine grows back up and covers it, it's going to look fresh and green and gorgeous the whole way up. Now, what else does your clematis need this time of year in January? You want to dig around a little bit, make sure you've got all the weeds taken away so that there's no root competition, no nutrient competition going on down around the roots. You want to check for bugs, check for pests. Now, clematis is pretty much pest-free, but it does want good drainage. And if you found that the drainage is just horrible wherever you planted your clematis last year, while it's dormant, it is a great time to address that problem. You can dig it up very, very carefully and either mound it up, adding a lot of soil booster or compost, do something to raise it up so those roots aren't sitting in the water over the growing season. Or you can put it in a container. That is a great solution for your clematis. So many clematis do absolutely wonderfully in containers, producing blooms and just being gorgeous, just as well as they do in the ground. So great time here in January to double check that everything is good down around the soil. And then once you've determined there's no weeds, the drainage is excellent, everything's good to go, then it's time to feed your clematis. Now in January, I recommend a really good 16/16 or 555, whatever you do, very well balanced fertilizer. You want your fertilizer to give the roots everything they need. You want the foliage to get a boost. You want the blooms to get a boost. But what you're really going for is growth. You want as much growth as possible out of this clematis, cover up the whole trellis, believe me it will, and to produce blooms for you. And to get that, a well-balanced fertilizer this time of year is really, really important. The way I like to fertilize my clematis is using an organic fertilizer. Again, I remove all the weeds around the base so they're not competing. And so everything goes straight to my clematis vine. I also double check to make sure there's no slugs or snails hiding. I've got an acanthus over here that has a few holes in the leaves. I think there might be slugs and snails hiding in there. This time of year in January, some of your perennials are going to look pretty raunchy and very tired foliage on them. And we talked about pruning them back. Well, one that I want to focus on here for a second is a shade perennial called Brunnera Jack Frost. Last year's foliage is chewed up looking, old, but this is how I know it's a great time to cut it back. The new foliage under here, look at this. Look at this beautiful little pristine new growth happening down there. This is what tells me it's time to also prune back my Brunnera Jack Frost. So yeah, the all-purpose EB stone is great because it's 555. That's the one I want to use on my clematis in January because well-balanced boosts the whole plant. So that's what I'm going to do. I am going to work this into the soil. What's really nice about this granular fertilizer is that it's got a natural time release aspect to it. So it doesn't cause a massive amount of overgrowth immediately or anything. It's released as the weather warms up and as the plant begins to pull it. Now this particular clematis has been in for a few years, so it definitely needs a bit of a boost. It was looking a little tired last year, so I'm going to give it a little extra both sides, make sure I've got fertilizer accessible, like all the roots, not just roots on one side. And as soon as we're done here, I'm going to give it a layer of compost on top. 2 to 3 inches is always a great idea. And then I'll probably top it off with another mulch also, which will keep the weeds down. And you'll see how happy your clematis will be if you do the same thing. Remember, cut it back 18 inches, 2 feet, thereabouts. weed around the base, make sure the drainage is good, feed it, a couple of inches of compost, mulch on top, and oh my goodness, this is what you do for your clematis in January. The rewards you get this spring and summer will be amazing. And now to prune my other favorite here, Boulevard Samaritan Joe. Look, I might have left it the tiniest bit late. I am not too worried about it, but as you can see, it's already beginning to push out buds. Another sign we might have an early spring. Makes me really, really happy. But I still need to prune this because it's a mess. And I want to keep it to the spiral. And not just that, I just don't want to see this dead twiggy growth. And honestly, I should have pruned it 2 weeks ago. So let me get going. You just have to be a little brutal about it. I know there are buds, but it's going to recover. Don't forget, every plant that you're growing in your garden kind of knows what it's doing already. It just needs you to shepherd it a bit, maintain it, feed it if it's in a container, feed it if it's in the ground, and just kind of guide it where you want it to go. So where I want it to go is up this spiral, and I'm taking this one back a little bit lower. Now, Samaritan Joe doesn't get huge. It's not as tall as Avant-Garde, definitely nowhere as tall as the Montanas I talked about earlier. It's a shorter growing one, so it's perfect for a container, a big container, or a short spiral. It's not going to need a 12-foot spiral or anything like that. So just in case you need a recap on how best to grow a clematis vine, around here in Zone 9B, what works best for a clematis is afternoon shade. Unless you're down in the city, who I can't remember if they're Zone 9B too, but they don't have the sunshine and the heat that we have up here, or that you would have over in Napa or over in Davis or anything like that. So to have a successful year of clematis and successful experience with growing clematis, you really want to plant it in a spot that gets afternoon shade. The other thing it really likes is well-drained soil. So make sure your soil drains well. If you've got clay, you're going to want to amend it. If it's at the bottom of a hill, you probably shouldn't do that either unless you can plant it in a container. There's lots of varieties that do well in containers, not just this guy. And the other thing it needs is pruning. Now, your evergreens are pruned a little bit differently from all the rest that I'm going to tell you about. But what you do about pruning your clematis, January, just like I'm showing you now, you're going to cut them back pretty hard. You're going to clean up the trellis that it was on. Part of the cleaning is pure aesthetics. You know, when you see that beautiful, fresh, new green growth coming up, you don't want to see all that twiggy growth back behind it. The other thing, of course, is just in case any of this old plant debris and old bits of leaves and twigs, just in case it's harboring, you know, bugs. You don't really want eggs of bugs. You don't really want the actual bug itself hiding in any of the debris. So it's a really good idea to do lots and lots of cleaning. Same with the debris that you've left on the ground. You're going to want to clean that up too for the same reason. Don't leave any bug hiding places if you can help it. Sometimes it's kind of hard to tell if the clematis is alive this time of year. I can tell this one is because of the buds that I just saw, but there's a couple of little dead branches here and I'm just going to cut them away. Sometimes it's really hard to tell the dead branches from the live ones though. However, most plants, all plants, really want to thrive. They will do their best to push through any little mistakes that you might possibly make. But I don't think I'm making any mistakes here. I think this is good. This is great. Okay, this one is all set to spring back into life as soon as I fed it, and it's going to take off. Wait till you see what it does. It's got the most gorgeous flowers. And I've got it all set up so it's going to have a great spring. Okay, so I've just showed you the winter pruning where you take it back really pretty far and you feed it. Well, guess what? There is one more pruning and feeding that you're going to be doing this growing year. So your clematis, you've just pruned it, you fed it, you're going to sit back and watch those little buds take off, produce a ton of growth. Well, then it's going to also give you a whole bunch of flowers. It's going to be absolutely stunning. Well, once those flowers are spent and you're seeing more seed heads than actual colorful blooms, then you're going to want to cut it back again. That's right. We here at Cottage Gardens recommend pruning twice a year. It's absolutely amazing too, because it's the end of July, you think, oh, it's a summer, there you go, we're kind of done with clematis, which is a spring blooming thing. It's not just a spring blooming thing. You cut it back after that first major flush of blooms. That pruning, you cut it back by half. Not all the way down like we just did right now in January, but by half. And by that I mean if your clematis has reached 6 feet, you take it down to around 3 feet, again to a pair of blooms. And then you just do the same thing. You take away the pruning, you make sure it's nice and clean, weed around the base, feed it again, and then just sit back and enjoy the second show of blooms. It's absolutely amazing. There are times we've got blooms going here in November that are absolutely stunning. So there you go. That's what you do with the clematis. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. I hope you learned something. If you have any questions whatsoever, be sure to drop me a comment. I'd be happy to fill you in on anything else you need to know about clematis. And yeah, come by and have a look at what we've got here. Come by for a chat about clematis or anything else you might want to know about plant-wise. And follow me on Facebook, Instagram, write me an email, drop me a comment, like, subscribe, share to all your other clematis friends, and see you next time. Happy gardening.